Poor Isaac Clarke just can't catch a break. After somehow managing to survive an outbreak of terrifying undead mutations called necromorphs in the first Dead Space, he finds himself 3 years later fending off another onslaught of these nasty creatures. Dead Space 2 will feel familiar to anyone who played the original game. Its few improvements over Dead Space are minor tweaks rather than game changers. But blasting the limbs off of necromorphs remains tremendously satisfying, and a new multiplayer component translates Dead Space's dismemberment-focused combat into a pulse-pounding team-based experience. As long as you've got the stomach for it, Dead Space 2 is one sci-fi horror thrill ride you definitely want to take. Dead Space 2 takes place on the Sprawl, a vast urban area on Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Isaac, who said not a word in the original Dead Space, has a voice here, and although he's a bit bland as a character, the intensity of the action that surrounds him makes us feel invested in his desperate struggle for survival.
Come on, man. Face no more. I remember you.
Revealing glimpses into the world of Dead Space, like a trek through a unitology center that sheds light on the inner workings of this church whose activity is inextricably linked to the necromorph outbreaks, keep the momentum rolling during the early chapters. The game later falls into predictable rhythms for a while, but it picks up steam again toward the end as the story goes to some unexpected and exciting places and puts almost as much emphasis on Isaac's struggle against his own demons of guilt and regret as on his battles against the necromorphs. The key to dropping necromorphs is still blasting off their often frighteningly pointy limbs, which you do with a number of repurposed mining tools and a few actual guns, all of which feel powerful and are immensely fun to use. All of the best weapons from Dead Space return, including the plasma cutter and line gun, which fire beams of energy capable of slicing necromorph limbs clean off, and the Ripper, whose spinning blade can result in a grisly end to necromorphs who make the mistake of getting too close to you. There are a few new weapons as well. The detonator lets you place laser-triggered trip mines, and the javelin gun fires spikes that can impale necromorphs to the wall. What's more, it seems Kinesis technology has seen remarkable advances in the 3 years since Dead Space, and it's now a much more effective offensive tool. Using this ability to pick up severed necromorph limbs or any of the sharp rods conveniently scattered around the Sprawl and hurl them at necromorphs is no substitute for a trusty plasma rifle by your side, but it's an effective way to conserve your often very limited ammo supply, and it feels great to turn the necromorph's own limbs against them. The Sprawl's pressurized environment also offers a reckless and fun way to eliminate some necromorphs. Certain rooms have windows that you can easily shatter. The instant you do so, everything in the room, furniture, necromorphs, and you, are rapidly pulled toward the window as the air rushes out into the vacuum of space. To save yourself, you must quickly shoot a sensor that brings a metallic emergency door down over it. It's a risky and thrilling maneuver that brings some action movie-style craziness to what is often a more grim and atmospheric adventure. Despite your powerful and satisfying arsenal, you still feel as if you're in constant danger, and that's never more the case than when you're faced with a few of the terrifying new types of necromorphs who make their debuts here. One new variety, called the Pack, resemble twisted versions of human toddlers. Individually very weak, these terrors run at you in groups, and if one manages to leap up onto you, it can cause tremendous damage. The other new standout necromorph type are called Stalkers. These hunters display an intelligence previously unseen in necromorphs, making use of cover to try to stay hidden from you until they decide to strike, charging at you with incredible speed. It's particularly satisfying to hit one of these charging beasts with your very useful stasis ability, stopping it in its tracks before blasting it to bits. On the other hand, these creatures are so speedy and so prone to charge at you when your back is turned that Isaac's slow turning ability can at times become a source of frustration. Unfortunately, as in the first game, Isaac gets saddled with some dull tasks here, playing galactic repairman as you fix elevators, deactivate AIs, align solar arrays, repair drills, and so on. The occasional simple puzzles you encounter and a basic hacking minigame you must frequently complete provide nice little breaks from all the dismembering, though. Solving those puzzles sometimes involves moving through zero-G environments, and the way you do this has changed, for better and for worse. Whereas before, you looked around for a suitable surface to land on and then automatically jumped across the zero-G space, you can now hover in place and move freely in all directions. This added freedom allows for some fun moments in which you must soar around large open spaces to interact with objects, but you can always orient yourself to the ground with the push of a button, so these changes come at the expense of the delightfully disorienting sensation that went with seeing the Ishimura from dizzying new perspectives as you stood on the wall or ceiling of a chamber. Dead Space cleverly incorporated your health meter and stasis meter into the back of Isaac's suit, and that's still the case here. There's no distracting HUD, which lets you feel all the more immersed in the environments. The diversity of the sprawl gives Dead Space 2 a very different atmosphere from the original game. Your journey takes you through hospitals, shopping districts, residential quarters, schools, and other locales, all of which are packed with details that create a haunting sense that this is a place with history. A place where, up until very recently, people lived normal lives. The sound design is an absolutely essential part of the immersive spell this game casts. Recorded announcements echo eerily through the empty corridors. Each blast of your weapons rings with the convincing pound of a powerful industrial tool, and the terrifying shrieks, screams, and wails of the necromorphs will send shivers up your spine and adrenaline coursing through your veins. The single-player campaign clocks in at around 12 hours and offers some solid replay value, but it's the terrific team-based competitive multiplayer that will keep you coming back. Divided into humans and necromorphs with up to 4 players on each side, the multiplayer gives the human team a series of objectives they need to complete within a time limit, while the necromorphs' only goal is to stop the humans. The humans all play exactly like Isaac in the single player, and the opposing players get to choose one of 4 necromorph types each time they spawn. The elusive Pack, the long-range wall-crawling Lurker, the resilient Puker, and the hard-hitting Spitter. Multiplayer games create the frantic sense of a constant, desperate fight for survival against an unending onslaught. Humans are individually tougher than the necromorphs, but unlike the humans, necromorphs can choose where to spawn, making it possible for them to split the humans up and overpower them. This mode strongly encourages coordinating with team members, and working together to achieve victory is immensely rewarding. You earn XP and level up as you play, gaining access to new weapons, more stasis power, and other benefits as a human, and more powerful attacks as a necromorph, which makes this multiplayer mode even more addictive. Dead Space 2 doesn't bring with it quite the same sense of experiencing something utterly new and innovative that its predecessor did, but it's nonetheless an outstanding game, with a campaign that will simultaneously leave you satisfied and eager for more, and intense multiplayer that gives you a great reason to keep coming back to this terrifying universe. Unless you're just plain chicken, this is a sci-fi horror adventure you definitely want to suit up for.